the game while the beat flows. At the sports bar where anything goes. Laughter and joy, we're in the zone. On the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. Come back for more. Tasty treats and soulful sounds. Feel the rhythm is where joy's found. With every cheer we come alive. Come on in, let's thrive and jive. In this moment we find our groove. On the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. Ooh, come back for more. Ooh, come back for more. Tasty treats and soulful sounds. Feel the rhythm, it's where joy's found. Ooh, with every cheer we come alive. Come on in, let's thrive and jive. In this moment we find our groove. Ooh, on the swivel at the sports bar. Cheering loud, feeling like a star. Good times, laughter and every score. On the swivel, come back for more. So swing on by, don't miss the fun. At the sports bar, the best begun. Ooh, come back for more. 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 Come back for more.
Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Unique Sports Talk. Hey, listen, you're on the swivel at the sports bar. And listen, man, I had to rush back into town. Me and the wife was having a good time for her birthday for a few days. And so I said the show must go on. So I grabbed a few things and I put it on, and we're going to talk about them today. Maybe a couple of my partners might show up, but if not, it's going to be just me rattling off at the jibs. You know, hey, what can you say? Then the show will be kind of fast because it's going to be just me talking to you out there. So welcome aboard. Hit the like button. Again, you're on the swivel at the sports bar. So let's just go through some of the housekeeping. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I simulcast this on my Marriage, Politics, and Sports channel, right, and the Unique Sports Talk channel. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe to both. Hit the like button wherever you are. The chat's open. If you see this on replay, you share it. Anybody who sees it on replay, put a comment in the comment block. All right, so I use other material. So, of course, got to put the constant disclaimer out there for the copyright. So far, so good. Haven't been copywritten, no strikes. So it's all fair use, so I try to be fair. Some sites I already know not to use their material, but copyright, fair use, fair use. All right, so, of course, it's NFL off season, so I'm not going to force it. We know that there's a draft coming up. And, the number one is like one quarterback in the whole first round that seems like everybody's excited about. So, so we don't need to force that. Everybody knows who he is. So here's a mock draft. You can't see it. The words are blurred, so I'm going to just go ahead back there. Anyway, so it hasn't really changed. So the brother from Indiana, so we'll just go from there. Again, Odell Beckham Jr. won't go away. He wants to come back to the Giants, and they're actually talking. I would play the link, but he's familiar with Harbaugh from Baltimore and stuff like that. So I think he has a little bit left, but and I don't know if he matured any. But a lot of times these guys stick around so long, even after injury, because they're broke. And I would imagine he's still coloring his hair. He's still doing stupid shit with his money. It's just speculation on my part, but I'm sure that's the reason why he can't float off into the sunset. So I don't know what kind of contract he will get. I say that if he does play, he's probably slick enough to have a decent season as a secondary or tertiary wide receiver. You know, um, he can't know he's no longer valuable enough to be a number one. But if he's on the field, people are going to be you can't just let him run around roughshod. He catch the ball, he'll hurt you. Okay, so hands ain't one of the things he has an issue with. Is he's got more head problems than anything else. So listen, I don't think the Giants have anything to lose by bringing him back. He certainly is not the same Odell that they had when they first drafted him years and years ago. I'm sure that he's got a little bit of humility, but he's probably still a knucklehead in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Okay. All right. So a little bit of NBA. And we know what the biggest story in the NBA, and we'll get to it with my man Jaden Ivey. So we could talk about individual things. It's the Pistons and the Thunder still at the top. It's like constant, these guys, even though the Spurs, I think have the Thunder's number, they haven't been able to take over first place. And the Celtics, they're waiting to pounce in the playoffs. So there's going to be, I think we know who number one and number two, the AF, the conference championship is going to be between the number one and number two. I think it's just going to go chalk that way. Even though I got to tell you, the Lakers are not playing bad basketball. Okay, so the Spurs, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Lakers still have a chance to win the championship. There's no doubt about it. I think a lot of the league is having LeBron fatigue. I know I am. I want the guy to retire. But the team is doing okay. But it's time for the brother to move on. Let the league grow without his name being the center of everything. So I think the playoff year is going to be pretty good. But let's get to it. Let's have the play-in tournament. Let's see who takes the sixth, the seventh, and eighth spots. Let's lock it down. And the playoffs in the NBA tends to be pretty good. Even if you get tired of regular season, I give the NBA that. It tends to be pretty good. Of course, the big story, like I said, in the NBA this week is the Jaden Ivey story about his stance coming out against the Alphabet Mafia. And the point really is, we'll get to that in the other banter section because I have a few questions and maybe one of my boys might show up and I could have somebody to bounce some ideas against. If not, I'm going to just tell you what I think about the situation once we hear a few little clips, and then we'll move on. All right, March Madness. Hey, man. The Final Four is here. Of course, we're going to start with the men. Illinois and UConn. Listen, UConn is surprising people, and UConn could win this thing again. And so can the women. Now, it wouldn't be the first time the women and the men's UConn team won a championship. I forgot what year it was, but they did it before, and they could do it again. So, who you got? So the games are on the 4th for the men, Saturday the 4th. And I'll probably pretty much kind of be glued to the TV to watch the Final Four. For not just the men, but probably the women on the 3rd. We'll hit the women next. I haven't really decided who I'm going to pick, but I always kind of lean towards UConn. A UConn-Michigan matchup will probably be a good. I think any matchup will be pretty good, but I think UConn and Michigan is probably going to be it. That's what I think. That's what I think. So you could just tell me who you think, and that's it. All right, what's next? Oh, for the honeys. Some of them, anyway. The final four for the ladies. It's a little different. Let me just click this, see what this.
The women's Final Four is set, and it's a powerhouse showdown. I'm Tondalea Wilder with your She Got Game Sports Minute. For the first time in years, all 4 number 1 seeds are heading to the Final Four: UConn, South Carolina, UCLA, and Texas. That means no Cinderella stories, just elite programs, elite talent, and championship expectations across the board. The matchups: UConn faces South Carolina in a heavyweight battle, while UCLA takes on Texas for a shot at the title game. This is as loaded as it gets. 4 teams that have dominated all season, now 1 weekend away from a national championship. No surprises, no shortcuts, just greatness. And now the question is, who finishes the job? And that's your She Got Game Sports Minute.
The funny thing about it is that this Final Four in the women's showdown is probably going to be more excited than pretty much any WNBA game you'll watch this season. Maybe say some games in the playoffs. And it kind of amazes me how college basketball for the women could be so exciting because they draw crowds. There seems like I know it's the college, stuff, but they get the ratings on TV. They get, it seems like it's really exciting to watch the young ladies play in college. And somehow it really doesn't translate as well to the WNBA. Maybe it's because they're professional and their arrogance comes out. And then, of course, their true colors and all that other kind of stuff, that the alphabet mafia stuff and all that kind of stuff where, it turns some people off. And the ladies, seems like the women don't support women in general, in terms of like fans, don't support the pro level women as much as they might the college level. I could be wrong, but it just seems like it's so much more exciting when the honeys are in college. I mean, you guys tell me, but it is kind of this year having all for the tournament to go chalk, and you get all number ones. We know some Cinderellas, and whoever wins. And again, I have a feeling UConn is going to walk through it. We'll probably have some good games, but I think UConn is definitely going to be the favorite. There's no doubt about that. And so it should be an interesting tournament. It really should be. All right, so it's going to be worth watching. We'll watch it. So there you go. So you know what I'm going to be doing on the 3rd and the 4th. All right. So I'll be watching college basketball. All right. The WNBA. Guess who's back? Back again. Caitlin Clark is back. I mean, last year was her, she was hurt most of the year, so they just sat her down. And so she's doing her FIBA tryouts, and she's playing, and she's making all kinds of waves already. The girl is she's just bad, man. It's undeniable that she's got the it factor, and she's getting paid handsomely for it. And again, her presence and the fact that the CBA for the ladies has been embellished, improved. If the ladies don't do anything stupid with their jealousy and stuff like that, this year coming up can really take them over the top. It really can.
Kara Lawson left Caitlin Clark on the bench at tip-off. And in the time it took the starting unit to fall apart, Clark checked in and broke 5 FIBA world records. That's the whole story. Except it isn't, because the how matters more than the what. Clark hadn't touched a competitive basketball game in 239 days. 8 months of rehab, training facilities, and no real opposition. And when she finally got her moment in a FIBA World Cup qualifier against Senegal, she wasn't handed the starting spot. She earned her way onto the floor while the team that did start was already struggling. What happened next rewrote the record books and forced Kara Lawson into a very public admission about the lineup she had constructed. If this game tells you everything you needed to know about where Team USA is heading, hit that like button so the algorithm puts this analysis in front of every Fever fan who needs to see it. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why what happened in that gym matters well beyond the box score. Let's back up and set the scene, because context here is everything. Clark's 2025 WNBA season got derailed early by injury, which meant months of rehabilitation with no competitive play. Meanwhile, FIBA and broadcast partner TNA were plastering her face across every piece of tournament promotion they could find. Posters, marketing campaigns, the entire package. The most promoted player on the roster was also the one starting the game on the bench. Lawson went with Chelsea Gray at point guard, and the logic wasn't wrong on paper. Gray is a championship-tested veteran who knows how to manage an offense under pressure. But Senegal came out with an aggressive full-court blitz, and Gray was pulled off the point guard position within 35 seconds. 35 seconds. Darica Hamby and Angel Reese were stepping in just to handle the ball, and the starting unit still couldn't find its footing against the press. Then Clark checked in. Her first 3 touches, 3 assists, not 3 assists in the first quarter, 3 assists in her first 3 possessions. The pace of the game shifted right there on the spot. Where the starting unit was surviving Senegal's blitz, Clark was weaponizing it. She was reading the defense before the trap could even close, pushing pace and locating teammates in rhythm. The starting lineup was managing chaos. Clark was manufacturing fast breaks out of it. The Clark and Ryan Howard connection became the defining pattern of the entire game. Every time Senegal doubled Clark, Howard was already positioned at the three-point line. Clark kicks it, Howard fires. By the end of the night, Howard finished with 21 points, a team high, and commentary confirmed that essentially all of his three-pointers came directly off Clark assists. Senegal had to make an impossible choice: keep blitzing and watch Howard keep scoring, or back off and give Clark a free run at the entire defense.
Yeah, so I just wanted to play 3 minutes of this guy droning on and on about Caitlin, but it's pretty much all true. He gets into some of her money, he gets into a lot of stuff. So the young lady is gold for the WNBA. And this year that she's back in her 3rd year, they better not continue with that shameful, jealous bullshit that they did in her first year. Anyway, so hey, listen, embrace it, ladies. She's probably part of the reason why y'all got a new contract. Hockey, I didn't even update the schedule. They're barreling down to the playoffs, so we'll get to that later on. All right, so back to the NBA, the plight of Jaden Ivey, right? And I'm gonna play a little bit about this, and then we'll talk about it a little bit, because maybe my take is not gonna be the best take about this whole thing. Hey, what's going on, Catelia? How you doing? You know, God first for sure. And this thing, you popped up right on time, because we're going to be talking about Jaden. Maybe you could put in the chat how you feel about it. But I think that let's hear a little bit about it. I put what he said that I think got him in trouble, and then a couple other things, and then some responses from a lot of people. Now, I don't have Stephen A's response, but let's just go ahead. I'm gonna just start clicking away for a little bit.
The Chicago Bulls are waiving Jaden Ivey after only playing 4 games with the team for recent anti-LGBTQ comments on social media, including this 45-minute live stream on his Instagram where he said a few of these things.
That the world can proclaim LGBTQ. Right? They proclaim Pride Month and the NBA. They proclaim it. They show it to the world. They say, come join us for Pride Month, to celebrate unrighteousness. They proclaim it. They proclaim it on the billboards. They proclaim it in the streets. Unrighteousness. So how is it that one can't speak righteousness? How is it one that how are they to say that you man, this man is crazy? Don't we all, doesn't even the world make judgments?
All right, so let me stop it there, because I'm certainly not going to play 45 minutes of it. But the truth of the matter is, the man's not crazy, okay? He's naive, okay? He's not crazy, but he's naive. The NBA as a commercial enterprise, you know, they're going to support, they want money from anybody who's paying. Yeah, and one of the things he did forget, now, of course, you don't have to be, as a private citizen, you don't have to be for Pride Month. You don't have to buy into anything that the Alphabet Mafia is trying to sell. As them being private citizens, they have the right to be who they are. If they're sinning in the eyes of God, that's between them and God to judge. You know, now, as an NBA player playing for a team, you could have all of the views that he has, and obviously he has a lot of views against what the NBA is doing. But he also forgets the NBA owns the WNBA, which is pretty much 60% lesbian. The whole goddamn league is full of lesbians. You know what I'm saying? And so the NBA, by default, is going to be inclusive of the Alphabet Mafia. Now, you do have the right to say everything he just said. He does. But you don't have the protection from the consequences. Now, a private organization can fire you for not complying. Now, everybody could come against the NBA, but the NBA could, you know, I think in a court of law, they wouldn't be hurt. They would win the case. They would win the case. I just really believe it. They would win the case. Now, here's the difference. Well, let's play another little segment about my man after he gets let go.
Jaden Ivey gets dropped from the Chicago Bulls.
They said my conduct is detrimental to the team. Why didn't they just say we don't agree with his stance on LGBTQ? Why didn't they say that? How is it conduct detrimental to the team? What did I do to the team? What did I do to the players? I did nothing but practice with them, play with them, pass the ball to them, good teammate to them, said good job, good shot. I said, good job, good pass, way to play, bro. Right? I said these things. So why is it that the NBA and the Chicago Bulls say that I'm detrimental to the team? How? Because I believe in the truth. I know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
How do y'all feel about this?
Yeah, again, this is your feeling. Now, I agree with him that they could have came out and said, that that even if he's a good teammate, right, he's the squeaky wheel in the corner, and the detriment is not to the individuals of the team, but the cohesiveness of the team, because there'll be some players who agree with him, but say nothing. There'll be other players and maybe a few gay players on the team that you don't know about who are in the closet who have to listen to him. So his not ability, but his righteousness to speak out as a private citizen against his employer, puts the employer in a precarious situation. You know what I'm saying? It really does. And so they said it's easier for them to get rid of the quote unquote cancer from the team, because there could be other players who feel just like them, just like him, but they're going to keep their mouths shut. Now, here's the thing. Now, here's where he would be right. Here's where he would be 100% right. If they put a LBG, Alphabet Mafia logo on all the uniforms and try to mandate the players wear the rainbow Alphabet Mafia flags, then he would have the right to tell them to kick rocks. Just kick rocks. I'm not wearing it. And if they fired him for that, he could sue the hell out of them. Right? They could play, the game could go on. His uniform he doesn't have to be a flag for something he hates just because his employer says so. Okay? So they would be in the wrong if they try to force him to wear a logo that promotes the Alphabet Mafia. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy speaking out against something that the NBA and his team endorses, and whether he likes it or not, that's the organization he works for. They cut his check, right? So the only thing I think is in his favor is that there's people speaking out for him, but I don't know if it's going to make any difference because the team fundamentally doesn't want one of its players speaking so overtly against them as an organization. And then they have to cut him a multi-million-dollar check. Get the hell out of here. That's not how the world works. It's just not how the world works. But okay, so here is a coach, Bernie Bickerstaff, who is being asked this question about this situation. And I give him a couple of style points for being really political on this one.
Having built a relationship with J.I. And feeling like you know his character and his heart, is one thing. For him to go through what he's gone through, I know has been extremely difficult for him as far as, the way he was playing, the injuries, trying to make the comeback and trying to overcome that. So I don't think we can overlook the human aspect of all these things and how that impacts, people and their decisions. Having said that, I also believe, the NBA is one of the most inclusive environments in pro sports, and it's a genuine thing that celebrates different, ethnicities, heritages, sexual preferences, whatever it may be. Like the NBA brings people together. And I think that's the great thing about our sport. And it's something that, we understand the responsibility as you live that day to day, but giving people an opportunity to just be who they are, right? And if, we don't believe the same thing, as long as your beliefs don't infringe upon me, like you have a right to have your beliefs and be the person that you are. And this environment should be an environment that supports that and gives people the opportunity to be the best version of themselves, no matter who that is or what they believe or what choices they may make, again, that don't impact or infringe on other people's. Having built a relationship with
Thank you. Thank you. I always do this when I call. Listen, his problem is, and thanks, Cattell, you're right. His problem really is that, he thinks that if he doesn't speak out against the NBA, that somehow he's not a good Christian. And that's not true. It's not true. Listen, unless he's self-employed, he'll probably work for somebody else who has and does something that he doesn't like. You can't keep speaking out against your employees. You got to generate your own money. You want to be a man without consequence? Then you got to generate your own money. The NBA endorses and embellishes and embraces the Alphabet Mafia because they got a league that is pretty much, like I said, full of lesbians. Right? They're naturally going to be able to embrace women in alternate and men in alternate lifestyles. They're ticket buyers. So you could be a good Christian and you have a choice to make. You could be against Pride Month and all that kind of stuff, but you have to keep that to yourself as long as you're wearing a uniform. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to wrestle with the fact that you're taking money from an employer who embraces that stuff. You can't really be a hypocrite about it, right? And I think that's what makes him feel bad, that he needs to speak out against something but he's cashing the checks. If you're cashing the checks, you either got to say, listen, I can't be a part of this organization and I'll work somewhere else. I'll flip burgers, I'll do some other shit, and I'll forego the millions of dollars. It's as simple as that. Now, and listen, I don't think God will come down on you because you work for the NBA, and you believe that, they're against the Bible, right? Because I think that if you work for anybody, you could find something where there's a transgression. So the brother painted himself into a corner. And it's as simple as that. You really did. He really did. So, it's not like it's one of those kind of guys who might have been a sinner yesterday, got saved, and then the pendulum for him swung so far to the other side that now he's a zealot. And that shit happens a lot. It really does. A lot of people who, lived a life as an athlete, you're stroking all the women, you're doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden you get saved and you go all the way to the other side. And now you're one of the monks, you acting like some kind of saved monk, willing to sacrifice people if they don't bow to the altar of Jesus Christ. So, hey, brother, it's an interesting conversation. I don't know where it's going to go, but I have a feeling nobody's going to be able to force the Pistons to take them back. Not or Chicago. I think he went over to Chicago. All right, so that's that. Okay, so like I said, we had something. Caitlin's back, for FIBA. I played a little bit about Caitlin, and she's back, and it's a good thing. The lady could play basketball. She could play basketball. And so here's another drama thing with Ryan Clark. And a few weeks ago, Cam Newton had Jason Whitlock, the most self-hating black man that you could ever find, on his show. And he asked Jason Whitlock, who hates Stephen A. Smith, a question about Stephen A. Okay, and so Whitlock went on to say a whole bunch of disparaging things about Stephen A. Smith. And of course, being a new interviewer, Cam Newton didn't challenge anything that Jason Whitlock said. And then Ryan Clark, and so then it was last week, I put an epic rant by Stephen A. Smith against Jason Whitlock. And at the end of that rant, he said to Stephen A. Smith had a message for Cam Newton. He said, how could you stand there and let this guy say those things without challenging him? Okay, then Ryan Clark chimes in and says that Cam Newton was not delinquent, but kind of delinquent. Let's just use that word, for letting Jason Whitlock on his platform to say the things he said about Stephen A., knowing that Stephen A. is the one who put Cam Newton on First Take and propped him up so he can get national notoriety. And then, Ryan Clark said this should be some loyalty to the man who hooked you up for you to not even give a platform to an asshole like Jason Whitlock. And then Cam Newton says, hold on a minute, man. You can't tell me to be loyal and who I can bring here. And then Stephen A. comes in and says what he says. But let's start from the beginning. Well, from when
I tweeted that, if you work with someone and they allow you to come on their show, you know, I find it strange that you would allow someone who you know they've had public disagreements with on your show to talk about that person. And what I was talking about in the situation was Stephen A. Smith, Cam Newton, Jason Whitlock, right? Jason Whitlock goes on Cam Newton's show and, you know, he says all these things about Stephen A. Smith, and now Stephen A. Smith responds. It talks about having your own platform, you know, and how you approach it. When you see something like that, Freddie T, because you are the most diplomatic human I know. When we sat down, Channing goes, I know a lot of people that don't like Ryan. I don't know nobody that don't like Fred. Right.
There's somebody out there.
Hey, I ain't never met him. Well, what do you kind of think about that whole ordeal? Because then obviously Stephen A. has to respond as well.
Yeah, I love Cam to death, man. And, I do know that Stephen A., based on how things work around ESPN or what I've come to learn along my way the past 4 years is Stephen A. has given so many people opportunities, at that network. He's used that platform of his to help build, the shows that they have. And I also know that he's extended the opportunity to Cam. And that's the part that I think is more saddening or more disappointing, I would say, is if I'm your friend, I say, come to my house, then you come to my house, then you bring somebody in my house that you probably got some sort of inkling that we don't really see eye to eye or mesh well. And that's a bad look. Again, Cam did it for whatever reason Cam did it for. I'm not here to judge that. But as Stephen A. said, post-interview, Stephen A. said, look, Cam, if you're going to bring up my name, ask questions. Like, if his response is X, why is it X? Like, let's have a conversation about it and create facts, bring it to the surface. So I don't want to get into the whole back and forth piece. I just thought personally, I didn't necessarily agree with Cam having him on his platform, but it ain't my platform. It's Cam's platform. I can't look Jason Whitlock in the face because I don't see a human there. I see a clout chaser and somebody who does anything for anything. So, but that's a whole different conversation. Media is messy, and that's what it is. And hopefully Cam and Stephen A. can, behind the scenes, can figure that part out. I just thought it was a bad look. I wouldn't have done it. I don't do that type of business.
I would for sure wouldn't have done it. But we know Cam, we know 4th and 1 with him and Peggy. It's entertainment. The whole way they shoot it, the shots and all the stuff, it's supposed to be entertainment. So he brings them on, and I don't know where Stephen and Cam's relationship is, but we talked about it before. There's coworkers, there's teammates, there's friends, and there's your dogs. Like, there's different levels to this. And I don't know where Cam and him sit, but that was, for him not to push back, for him to bring Jason on.
One of the things that is missing in this, he had a full, 35, 40 minutes of an interview with Jason Whitlock. And he only asked him one question about Stephen A. that maybe was like a 4 or 5 minute segment. Okay. Now, Jason Whitlock said a lot of incendiary things about Stephen A. that he's always been saying. But the overall interview was not about getting Jason on just to talk about Stephen A. It might have seemed like that because Stephen A. is the big name, the big kahuna, So that's why we're here, right? That's why the big argument. And I guess when you mention the big name, the big daddy in this whole thing, I guess it kind of just, puts all the rest of the why Jason Whitlock was on the show to the side with all the questions he was asked and just focus on his hatred for Stephen A. Smith.
No problem. Let's discuss this. But it wasn't a discussion. He just sat there, and told lies pretty much. But on the other side of that, Stephen A. Smith had us over his house, had some delicious air fried wings. He had the good lemonade, the good sweet tea. Stephen A. doesn't need any protection because he lit Jason Whitlock's ass up on his response.
Oh, yeah, he sure did.
I love that Cam brought it out of him to make Stephen A. really go where he had.
Yes. I never want to be tied into no buffoonery, ever. I don't believe all content is good content. I don't believe all publicity is good publicity. I don't think we have to be gossipy. I don't think we have to be messy. I don't think we have to always be chaotic. I don't always think that we have to create some level of drama. I don't want to be that person. If that's what I got to be for you to like me, I'd rather not be liked. That's me, right? That's what I want to do. The other thing I want to do, and you've been my friend long enough now. You know I don't play about my people. We've had conversations with people or been on shows with people and they go to start. That's my friend. Right. That's somebody I'm close to. Now you get to say whatever you want, right? But we are going to know that there could be a personal issue because I'm not going to let you talk about that person like that because of what they mean to me. That's how I am. That's how I'm always going to be. And that's with Marcus, Mina, Laura, Dan, Stephen A. That's with y'all too. That's period, because that's how I want to move. I want y'all to know that I'm not finna be talking behind y'all back, laughing at y'all, and then come in y'all face and smile. I'm not doing it, right? And so that's the way that I want to move. And the other piece of it is this. I don't want to platform evil. I don't want to platform hate. I don't want to platform dissension just because, right? I don't want to be connected to that. That doesn't mean I don't want to have conversations with people I don't agree with, because you can do that, right? In this political climate, we've had many people on our show that we don't necessarily agree with them politically, and we've been able to have good conversations, right? I've even started to rethink some of the people we've had on the show, and it's like, okay, this person was accused of this thing or accused of this thing. How do we manage that to make sure we're being respectful to the people that view us? So to me, that's what's important, bro, that I'm never known for just saying silly, doing dumb stuff so people click on us and like us. I want to be impactful. I want to have a sense of integrity. I want to have a sense of loyalty, and that's me.
There you go. So that's the word I was waiting for. He wants to have a sense of loyalty, and he felt that Cam Newton owed Stephen A. Smith loyalty, and he should have let Jason Whitlock interview him, yes, but don't let him just say anything he wants on your platform. Now, he actually said he thought Cam shouldn't have brought him on in the first place, and that's a point of contention. So nobody could tell somebody not to bring somebody on their platform. But question them when they say something about somebody you should be, quote unquote, loyal to. He's got a point there. And Ryan Clark, I think, is a pompous ass. But, because some of his takes just, it's just overbearing. But the fact is, on this one, it's okay to be loyal to somebody, but you don't have to be their puppet in doing it. All right, so here's Cam Newton responding to the loyalty question to Ryan Clark.
Here we go, first down. Ball moment of the week. Peggy, what do we have here?
Man, we got people telling you, we on how we should do business here on 4th and 1. Okay. And that's none other than Ryan Clark. Mr. Clark, come here, boy. All right. So Ryan Clark takes it to X, and he tweeted, if someone shows you love, has you on their show twice a week, at least, you don't bring his known enemy on your show and allow your guests to talk ish about the person. That's not G at all. Loyalty is at a minimum these days. And Cam, he is referring to obviously Jason Whitlock coming on 4th and 1 and your relationship with Stephen A. Smith. And he said you shouldn't allow somebody to come on this show and talk about Stephen A. But Cam, talk about what goes on here at 4th and 1. It's a moment of silence, bro.
Okay, I had to take a moment of silence because I got to leave with love.
There you go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Ryan Terry, you know, I rock with you.
Yep.
But just like in any household, just like any locker room, just like any situation where there's some type of brotherhood, we're going to have our disagreements.
For sure.
And this ain't no different. We just gonna have to agree, to disagree.
Brotherly love, brother.
You go to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I go to 4th and 1.
Oh, we always got it done, brother.
We talked about it. He sent me a message. That's cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he went to Twitter. I was gonna leave it at the conversation.
Yeah.
So therefore, he said his piece to the world.
What you gonna do?
Now I say my piece to the world.
Okay.
So you mean to tell me that you gonna tell me who me can and can't have on me platform?
He's such an asshole. He really, I mean, you know what? He's, oh my God.
Yeah. That's what he meant. My platform, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, you understand? Oh,
you gonna tell me who me can have on me platform? I don't go and say to you who you can have on your platform.
Yeah.
You understand?
I understand what you're saying.
And this is the thing, because this is just not about Ryan Clark, because I have so much respect and appreciation to my brother in content, to my brother as a former athlete, to my brother as a very well-spoken individual that has opened doors for the likes of me and the others. But one thing that's not going to happen is a puppet string attached to my back. Ron Rivera knew that. Jerry Richardson knew that. Gene Chizik knew that. Bill Belichick knew that. Every single coach player that I've ever played with knew that. I'm going to do things how I want to do.
And that's why what should have been a Hall of Fame career ended the way it did. You know, you not falling on that ball is just a metaphor for the rest of your career, because nobody can tell you what to do. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, Cam.
Respectfully.
Correct, yeah.
Don't micromanage me. Don't tell me what I can and can't do if this is the bylaws of the game that we playing. In this world of content, there's no such thing as loyalty.
Elaborate.
Loyalty.
There you go. See, we're on that word loyalty. So we're going to let him cook a little bit on why he said there's no such thing as loyalty, because I want to come back with one more thing from the way Stephen A. took what he just said about no such thing as loyalty after Stephen A. gave him a big chance on First Take.
Well, did you keep that same energy when Stephen A. Smith went on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn and Stephen A. had some strong opinions about LeBron James, given Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James' relationship? Did you say that then? Did you keep that same energy in regards to other individuals, as if to say, Ryan Clark ain't never said nothing questionable about Cam Newton? Ryan Clark or Stephen A. Smith ain't never said anything about Cam Newton. Shannon Sharp, a person who I'm very fond of, ain't never said nothing negative or questionable about Cam. Matter of fact, let's go even deeper. Deion Sanders, a person that ain't never said nothing questionable about me, whether I wanted to agree with it or not. It was something that needed to be said, and it was said. Did it have me in my feelings? I don't really have feelings when people have to do their job and they cover sports and they give their opinion and insight to said sport.
And I think that's a new outlook you have now, because obviously, even when things were said as a player, I think it did hit you in a way of like, dang, why would you say that?
But hold on. I said those 4 individuals.
Okay.
Stephen A. Smith. Shannon Sharp, Deion Sanders, and Ryan Clark. Because those are the people who I listen to, who I respect. African-American brothers in this media space, once upon a time, and they all had something negative to say about Cam. But what did Cam do? I didn't run a Twitter. I understand that. That comes with it. So you...
All right, so so he goes down on this thing. His boy told him at one point, people saying stuff about you did bother you, but okay, so he pinpointed to those 4 guys. But again, he really didn't explain his thought about there's no loyalty, and I don't think he gets into it deep. I think he's moving past that. But anyway, so loyalty. He felt that what his platform is, he didn't have to be, it's not a loyalty thing, it's his platform. So it goes into some more deep depth, okay? And so, of course, Stephen A. Smith, okay, as such as he is, cannot let anything go by without addressing it. That's his thing. He can't hear anything without having something to say. He's just going to respond. So let's hear what Stephen A. said.
Stuff like that.
Let me go back.
In terms of what to Ryan Clark and his position.
Let me
about having Jason Whitlock on his show to talk shit about me. Listen up.
You cannot allow people to come on your platform and you control how it goes. You only can allow them to speak their truth, how they know their truth to be. And if you don't know, you can respectfully say, hey, I don't know if this is true or not. So when Stephen A. says you didn't hammer down on the question, I didn't know that it was a lie.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm going off of what he's saying.
Yeah. You know him as a person.
I didn't know. Let me say it like this. I didn't know it was a lie, and I didn't know if it was the truth of what you've known. But you allow people to speak their piece, not controlling what they say.
Or that clip, either before or after, I'm not sure. Cam had something else to say, really speaking about loyalty and getting into specifics about where he stands and how he feels. Overall, about loyalty in the industry. That's how I interpreted it. And that's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. But folks need to hear this from Cam so you have some insight into his thinking and know where he's coming from. Let's hear what Cam has to say here. Listen up.
In this world of content, there's no such thing as loyalty.
Elaborate.
Loyalty. Well, did you keep that same energy when Stephen A. Smith went on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn and Stephen A. had some strong opinions about LeBron James, given Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James' relationship? Did you say that then? Did you keep that same energy in regards to other individuals as if to say, Ryan Clark ain't never said nothing questionable about Cam Newton? Ryan Clark or Stephen A. Smith ain't never said anything about Cam Newton. Shannon Sharp, a person who I'm very fond of, ain't never said nothing negative or questionable about Cam. Matter of fact, let's go even deeper. Deion Sanders, a person that ain't never said nothing questionable about me, whether I wanted to agree with it or not. It was something that needed to be said, and it was said. Did it have me in my feelings? I don't really have feelings when people have to do their job and they cover sports and they give their opinion and insight to said sport.
I hear everybody. First order of business. To my brother, Ryan Clark. Love you, bro. Appreciate you. Always watching my back. And always being a real one, because whether I agree or disagree with Ryan Clark, I never have to worry about hearing about it from somebody other than Ryan Clark. He will call and will come to my face and tell me himself. And anybody who knows him knows that he's about that. And the authentic individual that he is, because he don't have a fake bone in his body, is what I appreciate. He feels a lot of things that's different than I feel from time to time.
We got like shit blowing up around the world. We got oil crisis coming. We got all this stuff. And we're talking about, Jason Whitlock saying some stupid shit about Stephen A. Cam Newton giving him a platform to say it. Not that he did that on purpose expressly for Jason to say something stupid about Stephen A. Now we're talking about loyalty and all this kind of stuff. It's really funny. Now, Stephen A. went on before and said, you already talked about all of this offline to Cam Newton.
But it's okay. because I know his heart's in the right place. And that's all that matters. Like, for example, with this whole Cam thing, I have no problem with Cam Newton having Jason Whitlock on this show. Didn't mean anything to me. That wasn't my issue with Cam at all. That's why y'all haven't seen me comment about Cam in that regard, other than one statement that I made, which I will get into in a second. I don't have any problem with him having Jason Whitlock or anybody else on his show. It's 4th and 1. It's his platform. He owns and operates it. You want to get clicks, you want to get numbers, you want to build your cachet, your popularity, which is what you in this business for, and that's what you want to do. That's your business. I ain't sweating it. Ryan Clark had a problem with it. I told Ryan Clark. I spoke to him about it. I didn't. That wasn't my issue with Cam Newton at all. So let me get that out the way first. But in the same breath that I say that, it doesn't diminish my level of appreciation for Ryan Clark speaking up on my behalf the way that he did. Love you, bro.
Okay.
With all my heart.
All right, just get to the point.
You know how
please.
I feel about you.
All right.
And I appreciate you.
Again.
Cam Newton said something. And what I'm going to say to Cam Newton respectfully, school's in session, bro. I need you to listen. Because you said something that should alarm everybody. This ain't the loyalty business. Who told you that? And respectfully, sir, speak for yourself. Now, let me be very, very clear to everybody. Cam is my man. I'm very proud of the job he's done on First Take. I'm very proud of his contribution to the show. You understand? I want him back, the whole bit. This ain't that kind of party. Cam and I have spoken. I am not saying anything to y'all, and I'm not about to say anything to y'all that I haven't already told Cam. Okay? So let's be very, very clear about that as it pertains to the Whitlock interview. What I will say to you, however, is that I didn't see the earlier show or the latest show, whatever it was, when he was talking about this ain't the loyalty business. Fuck, it ain't. And here's what I mean by that. Cam Newton, you might say controversial things. You might get yourself in trouble. I'm not going to contribute to that trouble, bro. You end up in the police blotters is a story that can't be avoided. I got it. Something along those lines, I feel you. But what I'm not going to do is that. I'm not going to contribute to it. I'm not going to have somebody come on my platform, which, by the way, you're talking about the business we're in. You own your platform. I own this platform. I'll say what I want to say on this platform. I won't say what I don't want to say on this platform. I'll air on this platform what I want. I won't air what I don't want to air on this platform. I own it. You own it. So because you own it, what do you mean? It's not the loyalty business. Cam Newton, without mentioning any names, there are some cats doing podcasts and stuff like that. Personally, I don't even fuck with. I don't vibe with them like that. They've been accused of a lot of shit. I never said a word. I didn't pounce. If I pounced on the air, it would have went viral. I never said a word. Because I ain't want to do that to them. And they ain't even my friends. When
all right, so, so he's trying to give him a lesson. And I can dig where Stephen A is coming from, because it's hard to get away with, whether it's sports, whether it's marriage or relationships, whether it's even politics. When somebody says that they don't have any loyalty in the space, it is alarming. It really is. And even though we know allegiances fade and move and all that kind of stuff, if when a person can actually say that they're in the business, but loyalty ain't a part of it, now you don't know whether this person is somebody you could share anything with. If the right situation starts and they could just spill their guts, right? That's why those stupid TikToks where a wife will come out and say all kinds of abhorrent things about their husbands, right? And part of that is the fact that the husband bears his soul to her, and she just tells the whole world how effed up he is. And there's just too many of those kind of, that's just a bad example, but that's what that is, right? Because you would expect your wife to be one of the most loyal people to you. You know what I'm saying? But you go on TikTok right now, and you'll find thousands of women on there talking about how much some of the deepest, darkest secrets about their husbands. So I just tell you, so loyalty matters. It does. So Stephen A's right on this one. Cam, I don't know if he's going to get the message or not. He's a grown man. If he hasn't understood this by now, it might be a concept that we'll never really fully settle with him. Anyway, so that's everything has to have a soap opera. The world needs soap operas. So here's another one. This whole Ryan Clark, Stephen A, Cam, and Jason Whitlock soap opera is what it is. All right, so that brings me to my question section, right? So none of my fellas came up today, which is cool, and so Cordelia, thanks for keeping me company. Anyway, so listen, going back to some of the big stories in the NBA, the Jaden Ivey story, was he wrong by the NBA? Listen, if it pulls at your heartstrings that he got fired from a multi-million-dollar job because he went public 45-minute rant talking about how much, he's against the alphabet mafia, blah, 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 and he dons an NBA uniform. The NBA said, listen, man, we don't want our independent contractors speaking out against something that our establishment supports. You have a right not to support it. You have a right not to we can't put a logo on your uniform and tell you to go dance up and down the court with it on. But you damn sure can't speak against your employer, the biting the hand that feeds you. So we all have to make a choice. I worked for the Department of Defense for my whole life. I don't like war, but that's when it was the Department of Defense. I went on in my head to rationalize, as long as we doing kicking people's ass because we're defending the nation, I can get with that. But when we get into the offensive shit like the president is doing now, I had a problem with that. But guess what? When I was working, I didn't go around the goddamn halls of my job talking about how bad the war was, or any of these wars was. I kept my mouth shut on that. None of my meetings, we couldn't get into political conversations because our only job was to get weapons that worked to our soldiers so they could come home to their families. That's it. All your personal thoughts, you keep that shit to yourself. Especially when you're on government property, spending the government check. And if I didn't like it, then you quit. I had friends who actually left the Department of Defense because they couldn't deal with the dichotomy, right? They felt like hypocrites, spending the money, and they were against the things that were going on in the government. So instead of turning into spies and instead of doing something stupid, they quit and found a job that more aligns with their social construct. You know what I'm saying? There you have it. So you know what, Jaden? Maybe being an NBA player is not for you. Find something else to do. Find something else. That's just my opinion. It might not even be a popular one, but the NBA doesn't owe you a job if you can't stand the things they stand for. So I haven't really checked out anybody like a Stephen A. Smith or anybody else and what they thought about this, or else I would have put it in here. But I don't know. That's just my take on it as a regular guy, Anyway, Whether he's right or not, in terms of the morality of, you know, being an alphabet mafia and all that kind of stuff, you know, that doesn't matter. Not when you're accepting a check from an organization that fully endorses what's going on. Anyway, Ryan Clark, we had this whole full thing about Ryan Clark in his interview. He's very dramatic about almost everything. You know, he inserted himself into this Cam Newton thing, trying to protect Stephen A. Smith, who's probably the one man who doesn't need protection. He's probably the one man who doesn't need protection. He's got his own platform, and he's got a big enough mouth to use it. Now, by the way, this is my side note. Stephen A. Smith is going to run for president. Trust and believe that. He's going to run for president. He is. Okay, and the last one, and I say this, I'm going to be just blunt with it. You know, will a large amount of the black women in the WNBA ever stop being Caitlin Clark haters? That one we'll see this year. They finally got this big contract and this big contract bump up. And believe it or not, the Caitlin Clark effect helped that new contract come to fruition. I mean, I believe that. People might not believe it, but I do. Okay, so yeah, hey, listen, there you go, man. I think somebody agrees with me about some of the stuff I say. I know, but I just think I try to be rational about some of these things, Catalia, you know, and regardless, you know, some things are not right or wrong, but you know, you got to pick your poison in life. You really do. And all of it is not, you know, or you got to take your medicine. You got to pick your poison, and sometimes you got to take your medicine. And a lot of times the medicine just doesn't taste good. But you got to be real with yourself. Okay, so that's that. And the boxing schedule, I saw this fight, such as it was. Sebastian Fandora is like 6'3", right? He's 6'3". Keith Thurman probably is 5'8" at best. And they fought at super welterweight. So this guy's 6'3", he's like a stick figure, but he had 11-inch reach advantage over Keith Thurman. And he beat the hell out of Keith Thurman in I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 rounds. I had to stop the fight. Man, Keith Thurman's face was all, bloody and beat up. Man, he took such a butt whipping in this fight, in this championship fight. And you know what? I think Keith shouldn't have took the fight in the first place. He looked a little kind of pudgy in the down there, and he hasn't fought. He hadn't had a lot of fights in the last 2 years. I think he fought maybe once. You don't come out of that kind of sleep, fighting sleep, and fight for a championship. So his name got him a championship fight, and he got his butt whipped. You know what I'm saying? And I think that unless he could go back to the drawing board, get back in tip-top shape, I think he should probably hang him up. I think he should hang him up. He got beat down pretty bad. And you don't want to become like a journeyman fighter, just fighting people just for a payday. And every fight takes a little bit out of you as a human being, so, and every fight is not going to be a multi-billion-dollar fight. So sometimes it just says, okay, did I make enough money? Did I save enough, invest enough? And I can move on to another profession. So anyway, this is the end of this, coming to the end of the show. Hit the like button for the algorithm. Share this with some friends. Get some more people to come out and watch it. Some of my boys didn't come up today, but that's okay. Oh, did you saw this? Yeah. So you know what? That's the thing, man, I like about you. You watch everything. Yeah, it was a butt whipping, man. That reach advantage was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, it was like such a one-sided fight. So anyway. Yep. Anyhow, thanks for coming up. What's that, Starboy? Oh man. Anyway, I'm getting ready to get out of here. You see this disclaimer I have up there? Not disclaimer, but here's the disclaimer for the copyright. So far, so good. I haven't gotten in any trouble, so let's knock on wood that they ain't gonna beat me up for anything. And you listen, welcome, welcome and good night. On the swivel at the sports bar. I just keep this thing going. Been doing it this is the third year. I've been doing this on YouTube. 16th episode, you can see that. So, and with that, I'm gonna say good night. Yeah, we know what the coach pops in once in a while. I think it's he's got a lot of things going, so it's a timing issue. Now, he's usually on the Black Man Unfiltered network at 8:00 Eastern, because they have a sports show over there. So he might pop up over there because he's a regular over there. He comes over here time permitting, and then he leaves here to go there to talk sports. So if you want to go to BMU's channel, he'll be there at 8:00. I don't know if they're having a show tonight, but they probably will. So that's where he's at. I usually don't pop in there because I take a break for the rest of the evening, and then I'm on Real Precious has a show back at 9:00 on her channel. So that's where I go after this. So I appreciate you stopping by and everybody else. And so with that, you know what's next. Always. I got to say good night from the swivel on the sports bar.
Grab your friends, it's time to play. Join the fun, we're here all day. Watch the game with drinks in hand. On the swivel, let's take a stand. On the edge of our seats, we live for the thrill. In this moment together, we're feeling the chill. So here's to the laughter as we gaze at the stars. We say goodnight from the swivel at the sports bar. In the flicker of the screens where our spirits ignite, let's cherish this time as we fade into light. Tasty bites and big screen thrills. Every moment gives you chills. High fives and cheers, it's quite a sight. Join the crowd, it feels so right. As the game goes on, our hearts beat as one. Memories in the making, oh, this night's just begun. So here's to the laughter as we gaze at the stars. We say goodnight from the swivel at the sports bar. In the flicker of the screens where our spirits ignite, let's cherish this time as we fade into light. So good night, my friends, till we meet again in this world.